5. The methods and types of identification. We saw earlier that the term item of supply means an item of production or group of items of production defined by a logistics service to meet a particular need. Based on logistical and technical considerations, the codifier establishes the identity of the item of supply. Based on these elements, the codifier will choose between two different ways to carry out the identification of the item of supply: the descriptive method of item identification, the reference method of item identification. The descriptive method is the direct method to use whenever possible, especially when there is an approved item name. It establishes the identity of an item of supply listing with an item identification guide, the essential characteristics of the item which differentiate it from any other item. We have the following types of item identification depending on the use, whether simpler or combined, of the descriptive or reference methods of item identification. As in the NCS, the type of item identification is coded with only one character. Types 1A, 1B, 4A, and 4B are coded with letters. The reference method of item identification will have only one type of item identification. Type 2. The descriptive method of item identification will be divided into 6 other item identification types.
Type 1 or full descriptive item identification is used when the identification can be done based on the descriptive characteristics of the item. An approved item name is mandatory to carry out a full item identification. Type of item identification 1 is not limited to one item of production. It can be referred to the sources of the descriptive data. For achieving a full descriptive item identification, all mandatory characteristics must be answered. Type of item identification 1 is the essence of the concept of NATO codification, and it is the preferred method in all circumstances.
However, it allows only one item of production with specific characteristics and/or manufacturing guarantees that cannot be expressed by the description alone. In this case, the manufacturer's reference number must be mentioned in support of the description. For the record, this type of item identification can contain obsolete items of production reference numbers. As for Type 1A item identification, the item of supply is defined by its essential characteristics and allows only one item of production. But the manufacturer reference number does not fully identify the item. Therefore, this reference number and the characteristic differentiating this item of production from other items covered by the same manufacturer reference must be mentioned. Type 4 item identification is prepared as a Type 1 item identification, but the descriptive data available is insufficient to carry out a full descriptive item identification. As for a Type 1 item identification, Type 4 item identification may cover several items of production. Type 4 item identification requires at least one reference number because the concept of item of supply cannot be established based on descriptive characteristics only. As we depart from the original NCS concept, this decision must be justified. As for a Type 1A item identification, a Type 4A item identification only has one item of production. The manufacturer reference number must be mentioned in support of the description. As for Type 1B item identification, a Type 4B item identification only has one item of production that is not fully identified by the manufacturer reference number. As for Type 1B item identification, this reference number and the additional characteristics that differentiate this item of production from one item covers by the same manufacturer reference number must be mentioned. This type of item identification is used only when the descriptive method cannot be used. The essential characteristics of the item of supply are implied by the choice of the item of production designated by their reference numbers. This method of item identification must unfortunately be used when the codifier has no technical documentation available. The search for item identification quality leads to giving priority to the full descriptive item identification methods over other methods that are likely to generate duplicates. These methods should not be chosen because they are easy to use. When an item identification is carried out with the partial description of reference methods, the reason for the choice of method is provided using the reference or partial descriptive method reason code. This is the explanation for the exception from the main rule.